This is 1 year on. I'm Alison, and following on from episode 10, today's episode is about my wonderful speech pathologist and the work we did together. Following my speech assessment, some weeks later, my speech pathologist phoned me and discussed the outcome of my speech assessment. And she said she had appointments 3 weeks later and couldn't see me immediately. I was glad to hear from her, and we spoke for quite a while. She recommended a brain training app called Brain HQ, which tackled the categories of attention, brain speed, memory, people skills, intelligence, and navigation, and could be done on my phone in the interim while I was waiting to see her. She mentioned I might benefit from seeing a neuropsychologist as they tackled the more cognitive aspects of loss, which may help me with my particular cognitive issues. I had never heard of a neuropsychologist before. That was another IST to add to my growing collection. She told me there weren't many in Canberra, and often they were heavily subscribed, and I would have to wait a long time to speak with one. And for that very reason, I decided to see my speechy, and I was so glad I did, as she was both delightful and the work she did with me was so helpful. We spoke about the language type activities I was doing myself, and also the kinds of things that she might do with me. Once I got to speech therapy classes, we had individual sessions in a really quiet room, and she did some memory tasks with me, which I failed badly at. That improved over the time I was working with her and also using the brain training apps. Another thing she did with me was creating mental images. I really struggled with this and didn't know whether the mental images were there or not before the stroke, as I couldn't remember. Close your eyes and imagine a box with flowers in it. Sounds simple, but not if you can't even imagine anything. It's a black canvas. Nothing's there. I struggled with this a lot and still do, but it was several months later when finally I actually visualised a kind of map and was so happy to finally have some form of visualisation. I sent her an email straight away to tell her, as I was overjoyed to finally do it. She gave me lots of homework to do, and I was very driven, and of course I did as much as I could. Some homework was based around analogies, some around memory. They were each tackling something I was having particular trouble with. They were working memory with mental manipulation and cognitive rehabilitation tasks, deduction puzzles and analogies, multiple meanings and abstract categories, visualising from a picture and picking a word and visualising that. It sounds simple, yet with the inability to visualise, this was a huge issue. I was so glad we were able to pinpoint exactly where I was having issues and making the sessions really valuable. I only did 6 sessions with her and was sad to leave, as we had such a good time and I made a lot of progress. But move on you must, and having made that progress, I felt I didn't need her anymore. I also tried a session with another person with traumatic brain injury. This person had come by the injury in a very different way to me, and in fact had multiple sets of issues to deal with. The incident that had given them this range of issues had happened a long time back, over a decade ago, and the initial thought was that we could have a discussion group and improve our communication flow. The other person went on holidays straight after our first meeting and was away for a month or so. Whilst it was a good idea to do the joint sessions, I didn't feel it was as good as I needed it to be, and I got the engagement I needed down at the dog park, chatting to various people, or even in making the phone calls I needed to make and navigating those ridiculous phone menus. I was doing really well, far beyond the thoughts of the people that I met. In fact, I was glad, in a way, that if I met someone out, they wouldn't know that I'd had a stroke and I was treated just like a normal person. It was nice to exist in that deluded space of being considered normal and BS, as I call it, before the stroke life. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, please like, share and subscribe. I will be back next time to introduce you to the Brain HQ app, one of the many brain training apps I have been using. There are many, and I have tried most of them. Thank you.